The Miami football program has completely changed in the span of 24 hours. Mark Richt, in his third season, calling it quits, and speculation that he was possibly forced to retire, possibly forced to make changes. Regardless, he is no longer the head coach at the University of Miami. Manny Diaz, defensive coordinator who had taken the Temple job, persuaded to come back and take the Miami head coaching job. All this transpired between Sunday morning and Monday morning. So actually Sunday night. And so we had, in the span of about 12 to 14 hours, a complete change at the head coaching position at the University of Miami. And here to give his thoughts is the Wholesome One, Dwayne Holloway. Wholesome One, how you doing today?
How's everybody doing, man? Wow. What an amazing 36 hours for the University of Miami. But I also look at it from a perspective of how fast we took this hire. I'm excited for the guys. I'm excited for the hire that we had with Manny Diaz right now. But I personally think it's we should have took a little longer for this hire. I don't know if Mario Cristobal would have actually taken the job seriously. You know, he showed interest. It's already been publicly known that he showed interest in the job. We all know that what he has going on at Oregon right now is amazing. Just had the number 5 recruiting class, just signed the number 1 player in the country. They're playing right now against Michigan State. They're not scoring as many points, but Mario Cristobal to me would have been the elite hire. And unless Manny Diaz, and I think the hire has to also, we have to look at what he does on the offensive side of the ball. That will make or break Manny Diaz's legacy here at the University of Miami as the head man, if he's able to make the right hires on the offensive side of the ball. Now, our fan base, our players, everybody's extremely excited, but it was a safe hire. It was a stability hire. Him being the head coach at Temple for 11 days, those guys signing letters of intent, to play for him and what he was bringing to that program. And I know it's a business, but I kind of feel for those guys too. I'm excited for where the program is going because this is a futuristic hire. This is a guy who's young enough, he's fiery enough, he's a Miami guy, born and raised in Miami. His father is the former mayor of the city of Miami. He's a Cuban American. I mean, he's Miami if anybody else was Miami. He was my second option. But if we were to be in the college football playoff within the next 2-year type of elite going back and forth with Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson in recruiting, that hire would have been Mario Cristobal.
So you answered a number of my questions, Dwayne. So my first thought is, okay, let's say Cristobal is your number 1 choice. And then you're saying that Diaz would be your second choice?
Yes, because of the simple fact, and that's why I'm saying I have a unique perspective. It's not like I'm extremely mad and what are we doing and I'm flipping tables. But at the same time, I'm not like extremely elated because I understand that it could have been we could have taken this to another level. This right now to me is a B+, A- hire. We could have had an A+ hire.
Okay, so for me, if Cristobal is your first choice, and let's say you've got about 2 or 3 other guys that you would go to who weren't Manny Diaz, if Cristobal turned down the job, then I could understand. But since you're not going to get Diaz if Cristobal turns down the job, if you wait too long, if you wait for Cristobal to coach this game and wait a few days, I don't know that Diaz turns around in another few days. I don't know. That's all speculation as to at what point Diaz is at a point of no return. But obviously, the more you allow that situation and him to remain head coach at Temple, the longer or the less likely it is to be able to bring him back, even though he wants the job, no question. this is the job that he's wanted. But so you would have waited a couple days, wait for Oregon to play its game, go after Cristobal, and then make Diaz plan B.
Yes. Now, it could have blown up in my face if that was my way of if I was the AD, it could have blown up in my face pretty fast because, like I said before, Mario has built something good at Oregon right now. We can't really judge it. Let's call it great and immaculate because it's, year 2 maybe, or year 1.5, because he was the interim for the bowl game, and then he coached this entire year. So a full year and a semester of coaching there at Oregon. But he's one of the best recruiters in the country. I had this debate with some of the Hurricane fan base saying that, how can I call him a great recruiter if he was there with Alabama? Well, he was able to get some of those 1, 2, and maybe some 3-star guys when he was at FIU competing with the University of Miami in recruiting with some of those lower tier guys like T.Y. Hilton and a couple of other guys. He was also, when he got to Alabama in 2015, was awarded the #1 recruiter in the country award. And it's one thing to be able to recruit these guys and bring them in, but he was able to develop these guys as the offensive line coach. He was the main recruiter for left tackle 74. He plays for the Jaguars now, but he played at Alabama. Robinson. I can't think of his first name.
Cam Robinson. Yep.
Yes, he was the lead recruiter for Cam Robinson and countless other, those 5-star guys that go to Alabama. But he was the guy there, bringing this guy in, developing him every day as his offensive line coach. And he was in that Nick Saban tree. Nick Saban has a lot of people who's in this tree that didn't do well, but he was able to see and be hands-on with being a part of the recruiting of national championship winning teams and national championship mindset of how to get to that level. So that's where my mind was with the whole Mario Cristobal thing.
All right, so we got the Wholesome One, Dwayne Holloway, on the line from his YouTube channel, the Wholesome One, the U family. So check him out right there with analysis on Miami football and helping us out with this Manny Diaz hire, which comes off the sudden retirement of Mark Richt. So there's much chat in the live chat here about the offensive coaching staff and the offensive mindset and approach going forward, which, of course, was the huge issue with Mark Richt. So how would you handle all of that in regards to coaching staff on the offensive side, mindset, approach, quarterback situation that you've got now with Perry versus Williams, all of that?
Great. You got some great questions flowing today, Mark.
Well, just today, huh?
Number one thing to me is the two coaches that should be retained. Only these guys are doing great in recruiting. Is Todd Hartley, the tight ends coach and special teams coordinator, and the wide receivers coach Ron Dugas. Those two guys have brought in some great talent, and they have also really built great relationships with the high school coaches down there and with these players. They're players coaches. And at the U, you have to be a players coach, an aggressive players coach. We don't do too well when we have these disciplinarian type of coaches. Even Jimmy Johnson, to a certain extent, he will always be known as a players coach. He was serious. He was aggressive. He was a disciplinarian to a certain extent, but he was a players coach. He loved his guys. And those two guys would be the only people I'd retain on offense if it were up to me. And I think Manny Diaz would also take that into consideration of those being the two guys to retain because of their ties. And he has seen it firsthand, their recruiting and what they've done, developing wide receivers and tight ends at the U. Got to get rid of all the quote-unquote offensive coordinator by name only. Thomas Brown has to go. Calling kids cancers, Mark, is something you don't do. Especially on a national, interview like that. Maybe if somebody had it was typing, maybe if it was like 1991 and it was just typing or something like that, and you could say, "Oh, that was just hearsay." He's on video saying that players are cancers and they shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Whether it be true or not, as a coach, you don't do that. Has to go. Stacey Searles, being a former lineman in high school, I understand that offensive line has a lot to do with the players and the scheme. I don't really know if Stacey Searles is a bad coach. He's had some pretty big-time jobs. He's stuck around. He has guys in the NFL. But he has to have coached those guys the way that Mark Richt wanted his players to, his offensive line to block. We were a spread team for a long time, so there was a lot of pass-blocking offensive linemen there that now Mark Richt wanted to run this 1978 I-formation type scheme. But I think for the betterment of the program and the trajectory of the program, Stacey Searles have to go to. I'm not saying he's a horrific coach. I'm not saying that he's a bad coach at all. I just think that for the future of the program, he has to no longer be a part of the staff. Baby Rick, I don't even think Baby Rick should still be on the campus to this day. Baby Rick is John Rick, the quarterback's coach.
Absolutely. So you keep him off campus regardless. He doesn't even get back to any kind of extracurricular functions or anything. You just ward him off of campus completely.
Oh, yes. We're going to have some of the players help you take your stuff.
Wow.
There's a truck outside.
Dang.
You got to go.
All right. Escorted off campus. It's been that bad.
Security escort. We got limousines. We're going to make you feel good on your way out. Yeah, he has to go. Wait, that was the third part that you had asked me.
Well, it's a little speculation based on Jaron Williams' lack of play. We haven't seen anything out of him, but N'Kosi Perry we have. How would you approach the quarterback situation? Do you think Perry has any advantage in it, or is it wide open based on your evaluation and assessment?
Well, it's a wide open dogfight. And that's what makes great players. I've gone on here before and said the same thing about, at the beginning of the season before we had the LSU game, bringing in all this talent and guys creating competition that makes you better. Competition makes you better in anything in life. You're running your own channel, me running my own channel. We want to put out the best content, but you're able to bring in the best bloggers, across college football. So you have Cam Underwood and Alonzo 1219 and me. So when we come on here, we're all representing, UM football, but there's a little competition there. You want to be well prepared. You want to come on and speak well and speak fluently and represent the University of Miami well. But that's just talking football. On the football field and on a practice field in our indoor practice facility or on Green Tree practice fields, there needs to be a level of competition that's national championship worthy. And at the quarterback position over the last couple of years, there hasn't been that as far as, who's the better man in competition. We've had front runners like Stephen Morris and Brad Kayaks where they had nobody else really around them to push them. But now we have guys and Jaron Williams and N'Kosi Perry who are somewhat on the same level and bring two different forms of how to play the position. One has on-field experience with a nice size arm, a little bit inaccurate, but that could have been the scheme also. But he has a cannon, and we saw it against Florida State. We saw it against, all the other games that he played, some sparingly, some he was able to play from beginning to end. And Jaron Williams is the quarterback of the future. He might be the one to actually win the national championship for us in the future because of the fact that he is such a cerebral player. He doesn't rely on the cannon arm or the mobility. He relies on knowing where the ball should be placed on the field. He's more of an accurate guy. So, it's a tit for tat. And I believe that Manny Diaz will bring that. He will find a guy on the offensive side of the ball to bring that competition that he brought on the defensive side to the offensive side of the ball. And this will be a great competition. Cade Weldon is another guy who can also put his name in the hat. Why not? 3 guys going at it. to build some pretty good competition is great. And if we're able to get a grad transfer in there, an older guy, that would help also. But to me, if you ask me, I would roll with N'Kosi Perry. Me watching him do what he did, even though Florida State was down this year, watching him do that in spite of Mark Richt's lackluster offense, if you're able to put him in a spread, attack, aggressive downfield offense, that kid might win a Heisman or at least be ACC Player of the Year in my mind.
All right, we're on the line with the Wholesome One, Dwayne Holloway. Catch his YouTube channel, the Wholesome One, the U family. And Dwayne, of course, breaking down the sudden news that Mark Richt retired, and then the head coaching search lasted all of about a half a day, as Manny Diaz was announced last night as the new head coach at the University of Miami, despite taking the same job at Temple just days ago. All right. My thoughts would basically be, and I'm not a Miami insider guy. I cover all of college football, as the Wholesome One knows this, but I'm speaking to the audience as well, is that most coaches that get to the point at which they are in the running for a head coaching position at a place like Miami have obviously proven themselves on a number of levels and are obviously very impressive in regards to being able to, in an interview setting, explain their philosophies on football, their philosophies on running a program, their philosophies on especially in this day and age, handling young men, handling situations, social media issues, doing all the right things from the CEO level, which I'm sure Mark Richt aced that part of the interview. But then also you want a guy who is obviously going to approach the football side of it and be able to handle that. Most of those guys major on one side of the football. And for Manny Diaz, it's obviously on the defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be very important for him, obviously, to address what we just talked about. And that's the offensive side of the football. Bring in people who have been accomplished, who have proven, who will run offensive concepts that he believes in, and where he can have some level of oversight and input into the approach, but he can leave them do their jobs, call the plays, call the concepts, and then he just provides his insight and input, being a defensive-minded guy. And then there's that whole other level that Ohio State's experiencing at the same time, where they're obviously very impressed with an individual who has proven to be expert on one side of the ball. So with Ryan Day, it's on the offensive side and developing quarterbacks, but they've never seen him coach and lead an entire program. But obviously they trust Ryan Day. The University of Miami trusts Manny Diaz to be able to handle that side of it. And that elevation from coordinator to head coach is enormous. But obviously that has been displayed by Manny Diaz, that they have the faith and trust that he is going to be able to nail down that part of it, which is the major part of it. All right, Wholesome One, we appreciate you stopping by and giving your insight. Is there anything else we've missed? I'll ask you this. I'll ask you this. What should be the expectation for this football team next year? Considering what we just saw, considering what they've gone through, considering that Manny Diaz has to try to recover a very disappointing recruiting class, and he's only going to be able to do so much with only one more signing period left on that 1st February Wednesday. So considering the talent that they have, the schedule, the division, the personnel, everything in place, what should we expect of Miami football in 2019? What is reasonable?
I believe a reasonable mindset going into next year will be similar to Mark Richt's first year, that 9-4, 85-9-4 range. Reason being, A, I don't know everything that's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball, and B, at the end of the day, there's going to be a time of realigning and re-understanding with a new coach. How does he want things to go about? Now, if he's able to retain a lot of the staff, I think they could make a push for a 10-plus record, because they will want to prove that it was Mark Richt that was holding them back. If he was able to retain majority of that staff, and just say, "Now I'm the head man. We're going to go aggressive and we're going to just go after things." The schedule is not. It's the ACC Coastal. The schedule is never really that hard, if we're being bluntly honest. But you get Florida to open the season. Florida's losing 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. They're young and thin on the offensive line. Felipe Franks is a guy that, he's on one game, off one game. Big game stage, you never know which guy shows up. They also lose Polite on the defensive side of the ball. They lose a couple of their defensive backcourt to the National Football League. Their starting middle linebacker declared within the last 3 hours or so. His name escapes me. But I can see that game swinging either way. But I know for a fact that when you watch the Miami Hurricanes next season, win, lose, or draw, they're going to be a lot more aggressive, and it's going to be an attack-style team to a fault. Maybe that comes to bite us, as we saw a lot the last 2 seasons. Well, not a lot, but you saw in some moments where the defense was being so aggressive and so attacking that, hey, if we miss one open field tackle, some guy might be going for 70 yards. A lot of the first half of the Florida State game, DBs were getting torched. But the thing about Manny Diaz is he's not a guy that thinks he's too smart to adjust. That is what has made him a good to great defensive coordinator. Was most teams score a majority of their points against the University of Miami within the last 2 seasons in the first half. Once Manny Diaz conveys his message to the guys and makes his adjustments of what we're going to do now, teams were a lot less likely to score touchdowns on us the second half of quarters 3 and 4. So I think he will retain both linebackers, Shaq Quarterman, number 55, and Mike Pickney, number 56. I think he'll also be able to bring back Joe Jackson, number 99, at defensive end, to be able to say, hey, I'm the head man now. I'm the guy that recruited you all. I'm the guy that's been fighting for you on the defensive side of the ball. Now I am the head man. This is my program now. Come back. Give me your all for 1 more year, and I promise I can get you all higher draft grades. It's been reported that both linebackers got a 4th round or lower draft grade. To me, that means I go straight back to school. But I also don't have millions of dollars or financial issues at stake if I don't go when I should go if I was in their shoes. Joe Jackson is 6'6", 275. At the end of the day, those guys rushing the passers are going to go in the top 50 majority of whatever draft they go into. But if he is able to get that same mindset of aggressive athletes on the football field, making big plays like they should in South Florida on the offensive side of the ball, which is what he has said in interviews over the last couple of hours. He said he's been bombarded with Big 12 and Pac-12 offensive coordinators wanting to come be a part of the South Florida recruiting base of the South Florida offense. If we're able to put guys like that in open space, the University of Miami could go back to being a great program. But like I said before, Mark, it could all blow up in our face. He has no experience as ever being a head coach. So you never know at this point. But if I'm weighing on the side of positivity and the projection of the program, this is A, stability hire, B, young and aggressive, which is the 2 things I said on Twitter that I wanted for us. A young and aggressive coach that the kids will go through a wall for, and Manny Diaz is that guy.
So let's consider the great programs in college football that just in the last handful of years have hired coaches who had no head coaching experience at this level. Clemson, Dabo Swinney, Ohio State, Ryan Day, Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, USC comes to mind with Clay Helton, Texas, Tom Herman, although he was at Houston right before. Okay, I'll discount that. But it's been done a number of times. Kirby Smart, Georgia. So the cream of the crop is making the same move. So if you trust the guy and believe in what he's done and believe that he has what it takes, then and he's going to make the right hires and make the right moves and delegate wisely, then and he's got the wherewithal to command the position, then it's obviously worked elsewhere.
Right. And I respect that. It's especially with the number one that over my research has made me get a little bit more excited about it and less disappointed about not being able to bring in Cristobal was Lincoln Riley at OU. I mean, how long was he the offensive coordinator? Just sitting there waiting for 8 seasons?
Yeah.
And then he gets the job, and the train not only kept running, they've been doing better in recruiting, and they've been back in the playoffs a couple of years now. They don't really do too well in the playoffs, but they're on the offensive side of the ball. If they fix defense, Oklahoma probably is playing Bama in the national championship a lot more often than people think if they're able to fix the defensive side of the ball. But this could be a Lincoln Riley type of hire because the kids, I keep saying that like I'm not 22. The players.
I get to say that, Wholesome One, not you. Unfortunately.
It's coaching lingo, and I listen to them so much because that's what I want to do that I'm just used to saying it when I'm talking about players. But they trust Manny Diaz, and they will do anything for Manny Diaz. And that is amazing when it comes to in South Florida, because we don't have a lot of trust in South Florida. There's a lot of turnover with coaches in high school. Unless you win early, you're fired within 2 to 3 seasons. Trust me, I know I saw it after 3 times in my high school with my own head coaches. Of guys being there, and you might have early success, or you might not win the rivalry game, and you're out of there. But this was such an important hire for the program because of where we are. We've been in mediocrity for 15 years, 18 years, right? And we've all agreed on that. We've had a couple of spurts every now and again to where you see what the U could be, and you win 9 games straight, and everybody's saying the U is back, and then the bottom falls out of it. With this hire in recruiting, now if this was able to happen 11 days ago, and it just became a switch to where Mark Rick is saying, "Hey, I'm handing down the reins, I'm retiring, man is the head coach," maybe we would have been able to save a couple of recruits on the early signing day. But some of those guys have already signed their LOIs. What's done is done. Will this be a big move for the later signing day in February? I don't know at this point. But I know Manny Diaz has a great relationship with a lot of those defensive high school players in South Florida. What's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball is going to make or break this thing.
All right. He is the Wholesome One. Please join him on his YouTube channel, the Wholesome One, the U family. For anybody who's joined us late, certainly this video is going to post as soon as we're done with the live stream. And so you can go back and catch all the insight from Dwayne Holloway, the Wholesome One. And I advise you to do as such, because he's going to explain right off the top his thought process concerning this hire and going for the gold, but certainly being very content and satisfied with the hire of Manny Diaz. I am tracking college football games all over the place. We've got 3 different games on the field right now. Got an analysis coming your way on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, my other channel. So certainly check that out as soon as I can get Virginia Tech and Cincinnati posted, as well as the other games that are going on. And we'll be breaking down Stanford and Pitt right now with about 5 minutes left in the game, and Stanford holding a 14-13 lead. All right, Wholesome One, we appreciate you stopping by. We got to keep the Miami fan base informed and engaged. And so I lean on guys like you to help me do just that.
I truly appreciate it, Mark. I always enjoy being able to be on here and getting a chance to talk about the U and give my analysis on that. Like Mark said, check out my channel. I haven't been uploading recently, but a lot of that stuff will change. But my name is the Wholesome One, so HOLSUM, the number 1 space, Holloway, HOLLOWAY. And check out my channel. I have a lot of pre-game analysis and things of that nature for before the season and before the Florida State game. But you will have a lot as a result of all what's been going on, uploading within the next 48 hours. So check that out. Go Canes, and it's all about the U.
That's it. Thanks so much, Wholesome One. We appreciate it. You have a great night. Happy New Year to you. I appreciate you. Appreciate your contribution. You're a great guy. Thanks so much for making Mark Rogers TV so much better.
I truly appreciate you, Mark. Happy New Year to you and everybody listening.
That's the Wholesome One, Dwayne Holloway. And we've got Pitt and Stanford on the field with about 5 minutes left to play. Cardinal lead by 1. Just interviewed Mike McDaniel from ESPN Blacksburg. We broke down the Virginia Tech loss against Cincinnati. Michigan State's on the field right now against Oregon, Mizzou, and Oklahoma State. I advise anybody who loves college football in general, not just Miami, to head over to my channel, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, Mark Rogers TV, college football, and check out the video post right there in the instant analysis as we take you through, obviously, the next 2 days with all the big games and then the college football national championship game. And if you've joined us late here, again, Dwayne had a lot of good things to say, interesting insight into Miami football. He loves it. He breathes it. He's got both the knowledge and the insight, but he also has the passion. He loves it. I appreciate the live chat. You guys do a great job and support me and encourage me right here. And we will continue to provide you Miami football coverage right here and the nation over at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Subscribe and sign up for my newsletter. It's completely free. Just send your email address to mine at markrogerstv@gmail. markrogerstv@gmail. I'm not going to do anything unethical or stupid with your email address. We've got about 100 people that can vouch for that right now who have been getting the newsletter for the last 15 weeks. It's power-packed with college football content, facts, trends, stats that you won't find anywhere else, plus insight from myself and updates on the channels as well. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please leave any kind of suggestions, requests, comments in the comments section. I try to get to as many as possible. I had at my regular channel close to 10,000 comments last month. So, of course, I can't get to all the comments, but I try to scan them, look for the best comments, maybe some people that I haven't heard from before. And if you leave like 7 or 8 comments, I'm hoping that other people jump on and you guys have your own conversation and engage back and forth. But I jump in and get to as many comments as possible. But if you have requests for videos, certainly send them my way. And I try to get to as many requests as possible as well. We're in the process of looking forward now quickly to 2019 as team after team after team, as the hours go by, conclude 2018, look ahead to 2019. Just did a breakdown of Brian Kelly's comments following the Clemson loss about his team being nearly as talented as Clemson and some other comments that he made that raised my eyebrow. And so I broke it down: recruiting rankings, personnel, results, performance on the field this time around versus what was the breakdown against Bama in 2012, and the whole deal over at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. It won't be hard to miss. It says, "Is Brian Kelly crazy?" All right. We appreciate you. Thanks so much. And again, any comments, suggestions, questions that you have, certainly send them my way, and we'll get back to you right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. See you guys soon.